and over and over and over again with a constant acceleration and set equal the final velocity of 1, the initial velocity of 2, the final velocity of 2, the initial velocity of 3. So let's look at what this might look like. Let's start with simply looking at the first rectangle. So the sum of the forces is, we call the sum of the forces is MAX1. Well, we know AX1, there is no force here, so AX1 is 0. There's no question about that, it's 0. So therefore, if we do velocity final square.
Well, that was a very accurate representation of me trying to survive physics. It's an uphill battle every day. And this mini-mester has been the biggest mistake ever. So today's Thursday, so I don't have any classes today or tomorrow because they're like reading days. And then tomorrow afternoon I have one final, and then Saturday at 4 p.m. I have a second final. So after that, I'll only have 2 classes left, physics and calculus, thank God. However, I do have a test in both calculus and physics Monday. Friday I have a test, Saturday I have a test, Monday I have 2 tests. Like, I can't even think about anything else at this point. I try and study as much as I can, but I feel like you can only shove so much information in so fast. Worn thin, and I'm very ready for it to be over. And summer's basically half done now, and in, 3 days I'll only have 2 classes, so those are the classes that I really need to do well in, because world literature, yeah, I need to pass it, but that's got nothing to do with my major. It's kind of a moot point in comparison, in my opinion. So Hannah and I have been talking a good bit about what we're going to do about our financial situation for this second and last year. And we were kind of surprised by how quickly we used up a good portion of the loans we already took out. And I feel like there was something we weren't taking into account, because we don't live like kings. We don't go on vacation crazy places. We're not buying absurd things. We're very reasonable. And so I went through and I added up all the days that I missed due to holidays or breaks between semesters. Or days like today and tomorrow, which are reading days, which I don't have class. I don't get paid BAH for those. So I went through the whole year and added up all of the days that I miss, namely for holidays and breaks. And it ended up being 100 days. So a third of a year, not quite a third because there's 365 days, but it was almost exactly 100 days, like 103 days that I lose BAH on. And now that I'm at Auburn, BAH is about $30 a day. So $30 a day times 100, you can see how that adds up. It's like $3,000, $3.5 grand, like $3,400-ish. So that's how much money we lose. So even if we were to get full BAH and a stipend every single month, we still wouldn't meet our basic expenses for the month. Car insurance, car loan, food, electricity, etc., etc. It doesn't take into account incidental things, car repairs. When we had to buy Anna a new computer when it broke. I feel like I've said all this stuff before, but I'm just reiterating, I guess. So we're well below even the minimum that we need to live. So we decided to take out some more loans in my name this time, because I think she took out as much as she could, if I remember correctly. So this time we took them out in my name, and we figured that we didn't want to take out a ton, so we took out the smallest amount we thought we could get by with without dipping into our savings. But if it comes down to it, then that's ultimately what we'll do, because both Anna and I really don't want to take out a student loan like a couple months before she graduates and has a job. That doesn't make a lot of sense to either of us. So having to do that is kind of a bummer, but like I've said before, it kind of is what it is. All things considered, we're ahead of the average curve. So I'm glad for that. And since I have this final Saturday, I can't go out of town with Anna to Pensacola for her brother's flight suit ceremony. So that's when he graduates from. I may get this wrong. It's when he graduates from his first iteration of flight school. So I think it has like 3 parts, right? The first part being the basics, and just in a prop plane like a Cessna, and then in a more advanced like a jet, and then finally whatever platform he'll be on in the fleet. So he's finished with his first one now, or he's very nearing completion. So at that point he gets basically awarded his flight suit, and at that point he will wear that in lieu of his uniform, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know a whole lot about the Navy. I probably should now that it's in the family, but whatever. And I tried to add a couple more classes to my schedule for fall, but I can only register for classes within 2 periods of time, which I thought is strange, but I'm sure there's a reason for it. So I tried to add another class, like a gimme class, like Intro to Logic or Ethics or something like that, because I gotta get something out of that category still. And I wasn't able to, and then I decided that I'm probably just gonna stay with 9 hours. And granted, that means I won't get full BAH. I'll get 75%, so about $750 rather than $1,010, which I think I'm okay with. Because after this semester, my GPA is going to suffer a little bit because I know A's are out of the question for probably 2 of my classes, if not 3. And I just want to take it easy for a little bit and then come back to it and be able to devote more time per class and really succeed, because next semester is when I'll start taking actual classes for my major. And one other really quick thing, I know I've made a point in the past to talk about kind of my career choice and how I've gone about thinking about it and dwelling on it, and how I make that kind of decision. And I think I might be getting closer to that. There's this podcast that I listen to. It's basically one of 2 that I listen to. It's Waking Up by Sam Harris. You can look it up if you like, political and sciencey stuff, and I don't know, just look it up if you're into that kind of thing. If you're familiar with Sam Harris already, then you're probably already aware of it, because it's a pretty popular podcast. Excuse me. But I listen to that pretty regularly when I have time, which hasn't been often lately. Excuse me. But he's had a couple people on in the recent past that really interested me. One of them was a data scientist, or a data ethicist, I think he called himself, who previously worked for Google or Facebook or something like that. And then a woman more recently by the name of Zeynep Tufekci, and I actually just bought her book. And she deals more with like how social networking and social media interplays with culture and politics. The name of her book is Twitter and Tear Gas. I got it right here, so I may as well just read it off to you. Twitter and Tear Gas, the Power and Fragility of Networked Protests. So both of these have really got my gears turning a little bit. I think it's really interesting. Stuff like data mining, how much information can be gleaned from that, and also conversely the ethics behind data mining. That interests me especially. So I think data science is a direction I might try and go into. Auburn doesn't offer a data science major, so I don't know what to do. At this point, it's so preemptive that I don't even know what I don't know, and it's just gonna be, I think, a matter of waiting until I get to the actual College of Engineering and finding some people who know what they're doing and know about this stuff, and talking to them, and then going from there. But as of right now, that interests me quite a bit, and I'm very much looking forward to reading this book again when I have the time. Yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.